Good afternoon, everyone. I will call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Ways and Means Committee to order. I'm Councilmember Abdi Warsame, the chair of the committee, and with me on the dais are Councilmember Cunningham, Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Fletcher, and Councilmember Palmisano. We are a quorum of the committee and can therefore conduct our committee business. Today, we have 16 items consent, and I will go through them. One is a legal settlement claim of Thomas J. Mack. Second item is a legal settlement claim of Andre Sewell. Third is a leases for early voting centers for 2018 elections. Fourth item is a contract amendment with Messenger Construction Company, Inc. for contract closeout regarding the convention center drinking fountains replacement project. The fifth item is a gift acceptance for the city staff travel expenses to Ann Arbor, Michigan in September 2018. Sixth item is a contract amendment with Navix Global Inc. for ethics report lines services. The seventh item is a temporary step increase for principal policy aide position in the mayor's office. Item number 8 is a staff purchasing letters and joint powers letters report for the month of May 2018. Item number 8 is a grant from the Minneapolis Downtown Improvement District for street outreach. Item number 10 is a contract with Tool Design Group for Vision Zero Action Plan. Item number 11 is acquisition of land from Hennepin County for a stormwater holding pond. Item number 12 is a contract amendment with Urigan Constructions Company for Nicollet Mall art restoration. Item number 13 is a Metro Blue Line Extension Light Rail Transit LRT Project Master Funding Agreement. Item number 14 is a bid for installation of large diameter cured in place pipe. Item number 15 is 28th Avenue South Street Reconstruction Project Approval Assessment and Areaway Abandonment. Item number 16 is a grant from Hennepin County for public recycling containers. And those are our consent items. I'll move all these items for approval. Is there any discussions from my colleagues, first of all? No discussion, so I'll move approval of these items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? The items have been approved, and we have one discussion item today, which is the budget update, and we have our budget director, Micah. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair Warsame. For the record, Micah Intermel, the budget director here for the city. So I wanted to provide just a quick financial context update for where we are with the 2019 budget, and also I know the chair was interested in just a brief overview on our calendar for the next 5 months or so as we get this wrapped up in a nice, neat package. So as a reminder, the 2018 budget that we adopted last December included a 5-year financial direction that assumed a 5.65% increase to the levy just to maintain current service levels and fulfill a few ongoing commitments. So any new programmatic changes would be above and beyond that 5.65%, absent any additional revenues or other cuts in different programs. So that's our baseline. I've been, the mayor has asked that I share with you the proposals that have come forward from departments, and the bullet point here says the departments have shown a lot of needs, and I think that there are a few reasons. One, we're growing as a city, and there are additional services required as a result of that, but also as we see policy not happening at the federal and state level, that's pushed down to the local level. And I think I've heard from some of you that you feel that pinch as well. So in total, we see $62 million requested across all funds for the new operating budget spending, 18 million of that one time in the general fund. So in total, if we were to add all of that 18 million plus the current service level, we'd be at about a 12% property tax levy increase. I'm not suggesting that that's what the council should adopt, but rather just providing some context. In addition, the last bullet point here shows that for our capital budget, departments have requested a little over $1 billion for capital spending over the next 5 years, and all of that is available online as well. So we talk a lot about property tax and the levy increase, but as a reminder, that makes up only about 23% of our total city budget, or about 40% of the general fund. So the rest comes from fees that we charge, local government aid, a lot of it's utility charges, and debt that we take on. Absent any changes to those other sources, our non-property tax revenues in the general fund are only set to increase 1%. And so that's why we're so reliant on a larger, a 5.5 to 5.65% change on the property tax levy, is because the non-property tax revenues aren't keeping pace with inflation. So the third bullet point here, there is a recommendation forthcoming that we increase those non-property tax revenues. So some of our business licensing, the health inspections, rental licensing, in order to help contain that property tax levy increase. And then the last bullet point here, we do, in the budget, we also include a 5-year projection on where utility rates are set to go. And for 2019, the projection was a little over 4% for the average resident. Any questions on that fiscal context? So on August 15th, about a month from now, the mayor will present his recommendation weighing those factors and others. On August 27th, 2 weeks later, we'll present an overview of the major changes that are included in the mayor's budget, as well as the impacts on the property tax levy. A few weeks after that, we'll give an overview on where the current service level is growing and what we're seeing there in terms of our inflationary increases to spending in the city, as well as some more discussion about the non-property tax revenues that I just highlighted. In September and October, departments will come forward to the budget committee, of which you're all a part, and Councilmember Palmisano chairs, to talk about the mayor's recommendation for their individual departments. On November 28th, we have the first of 2 public hearings on the budget, referred to as the Truth in Taxation hearing, where residents can come and give feedback on the property tax levy itself. November 30th is a session for the budget committee to meet and mark up, make changes to the mayor's recommendation. And finally, December 5th is the second of 2 public hearings and adoption of the 2019 budget.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Intermill. I have a question on the current base levy and the amount of requests that have been put in. I'm just curious if, and I know, the mayor, just as every mayor obviously goes through those requests very carefully, and they just can't support every request just because of all of the counter pressure of the limits of how much property taxes can be reached or can be raised and the impacts of raising them. But I am curious what that translates to into a levy increase in terms of the total number of requests.
Sure. So if
as a percent,
$18 million in ongoing spending itself would equate to about 5.5%.
On top of the 5.65%.
About 6%. So in total, we'd be looking at about a 12% overall increase if all of the ongoing general fund requests were funded and there were no changes to non-property tax revenues.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's very helpful context, and I think kind of gives us an idea of the ceiling of requests. So I appreciate this presentation. Thank you.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. One, can you give just the short version of why maintaining the status quo involves a 5.65% levy increase. What are the costs that are continually putting upward pressure on the city budget? And then the other thing I'm wondering about is, given the assessments, now that we know the sort of total property universe that we're talking about, what's the rate of levy increase that we would need to make in order to hold our tax rate steady from year to year?
So to the first question, I think that our inflationary pressures are similar to any other large public or private entity. So that healthcare costs and wages rising. We see increasing pressures and some of the internal services that we provide. Our fleet and IT are both a couple of areas that have put some upward pressure on our costs generally. But again, since the projected increase in the non-property tax revenues is only 1%, our assumed level of inflation on our current service level is about 3.5%. So that's why then the property tax levy has to pick up more of the inflation, since those non-property tax revenues are so flat. So that's the dynamic at play there. In terms of the effect of the current assessments on the property tax levy for next year, I think it's too early to tell. I'll turn to our CFO and see if he has anything to add to that. But we will have some preliminary information to answer that question, hopefully soon after the mayor's budget's release.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Micah. And I'll make a motion to receive and file this update. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right, thank you very much. That motion passes. And having concluded the committee's business, we are adjourned.